welcome in on a Nebrasketball Tuesday to the Unemployed podcast with Mike Schaefer, Mike Sautter joining here today. But before we get going, this Nebrasketball Tuesday episode is brought to you by TP3 Pest Management, which, like the Huskers, knows the way to win is through a strong defense. No one wants to deal with uninvited visitors inside or even around your home. Don't waste on store-bought formulas. Instead, give TJ a call at 402-618-1116 and bring out professionals to handle your needs. TP3 uses a proprietary blend and sprays inside and outside the home or business to make sure you get full coverage. That includes foundations, garages, sheds, and outbuildings while removing webs and wasp nests. The best part is there's no contract. Unlike the transfer portal, if you want to try it one time and then hop back out, you can. I'm pretty sure you'll stick with them because TP3 does great work. And like I said, this stuff works. I've used TP3 as my pest person, pest guy, pest company, however you want to call it, for 3 different houses now. In Bennington, in Lincoln, he's all over the I-80 corridor, if you would. And so, great work. I originally came out because of a spider problem I had at my first house in Lincoln. One time sprayed, never dealt with those spiders again. There's nothing more annoying than thinking you've solved the problem, only to realize that it's been temporary. With the stuff from TP3, I promise you, it's not temporary. So, once again, hit them up. That number, give TJ a call, 402-618-1116, and let them know the Unemployed podcast sent you. Get a discount on your first home or business spray. And like I said, that's the Lincoln, Omaha area, Ashland, Waverly, surrounding communities. They've got a pretty wide radius. So hit them up, bring them out, send those pests packing. All right, Mike Sautter, let's start with Pryce Sanford. This is not these things where it's not a surprise, and yet it obviously is a mood lifter for, fans of Nebraska basketball. Not a surprise in the sense that I think it was pretty likely he was going to be back. Now, to not have to deal with any sort of NBA testing or anything, and you just kind of know it, is great. I want to offer a small theory that you can happily bat down if you would like.
Okay.
I wonder if the timing of this announcement helps with the fact that you had Trevin Lenhart, Drew Fielder in. They've got another visitor today that we'll dive into a little bit. More visitors this week. Is there any possibility that some of having Pryce Sanford announced this week instead of last week, or now instead of later, could be just to add a little bit extra in the pitch for some of those guys that came through this weekend as Nebraska looks to add from the transfer portal for its 2026-2027 roster?
Yes, or it could be, hey, we want to target this player or these players, and agents or people are asking, well, who's going to be on the roster? And then they could say, okay, for sure this is happening. Because, it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to do it. And
obviously put that on a sign somewhere.
Yeah. I'm sure
underneath like a mountain landscape or something. You remember those, I felt like a very 1980s, early 90s, motivational signs where there'd be some scenic nature shot and then some sort of quip, or about hanging in there or giving it your best. That's kind of what that sounded like right there.
Yeah, I want to say that I don't think I ever owned one of those, so that's good. But I do know what you're talking about. I mean, it was pretty obvious, if you will, that Pryce Sanford was coming back when the sports hernia surgery news broke. Robin Washut broke that news. So, when that happened, and then it was 8 days ago, feels like it was a month ago that Coach Hurrdat had his end of year press conference and said that Pryce would be back for our team workouts in June. That made it really kind of obvious that he was coming back. So yeah, I think a lot of things can be true with that. Not just two, but I think it's for sure something like, hey, targeting these guys, and we want, more if we don't get these guys or whatever. And so they probably want to know that the all Big Ten player is going to be on the team, right? So.
Yeah, no, I mean you like to keep the all Big Ten player. The last time Nebraska did that was Turan Petaway, and the follow-up season wasn't quite what you wanted. Now this roster is going to be a lot better than what Turan Petaway was working with and what Tim Miles was working with in the 2014-2015 season. Now I was Happer and I had this discussion this morning, Mike, and I'm curious, how far back do you have to go to come up with a player of this caliber that's coming back to Nebraska for another season? Now, obviously, Bryce Williams exhausted his eligibility when he was an all-conference first-team player. Keisei Tominaga, when he was at his best, it was at the end of his career. James Palmer, same thing, all Big Ten player, first team, last season of his eligibility. Turan Petaway did come back. The team wasn't as good, and it's a very different sort of player in Turan Petaway than Pryce Sanford. And so, with all the respect in the world for Turan Petaway, who carried a team to the NCAA tournament, on those shoulders, not quite the same thing. I was guessing it would be like when Vincent Hamilton returned and Tyronn Lue didn't. But Vincent Hamilton wasn't an all Big 12 player in the way that Pryce Sanford was. He's just, great big. Eric Piakowski was the last one that maybe sort of fits this. Is there anybody I'm forgetting? This sort of also speaks to the history of Nebraska basketball that I rattled off 6 names before we got to Eric Piakowski 32 years ago. But that kind of speaks to, like, 1, what Pryce Sanford has done. 2, I think the general excitement about, like, hey, they lost a lot in Mast and Hoiberg and Lawrence, but what they have coming back and what you're hoping to put around them, like, this doesn't have to end with a really cool 1-year blip. And Sanford is such a huge piece of that.
Yes. Who am I trying to think of? Why can I not think of this? Oh, Alex March, but he.
Okay. I mean, he came back for his senior year in 2008. He was an all Big Ten player. I think he was honorable mention in 2008. I think he was honorable mention the year before. And he was really good. But again, some of it is a team context. Like, when you're getting Sanford back and you already have Frager in the fold, that feels so much better than sort of some of these other teams where it's like, yeah, you got your best player, but the drop off between him and the next best player feels pretty substantial.
And March, like you said, yeah, he was. I mean, it's probably Piakowski or Hoppin.
Yep. Hoppin in the 80s, 3-time all Big 8.
Which means that's like your, people that are coming back that
right.
That were actual, not honorable mention guys. So
I want to mention that I said all Big 12 for Eric Piakowski. I am aware that he was not in the Big 12. It didn't exist at that point in time. It was a Big 8. So please don't go on the internet and say that I'm unfamiliar.
Or was it the Big 6?
No, it was a Big 8.
I know.
I feel pretty good about that.
I feel good about it being the Big 8, not the Big 6. The Big 6 was, long time before that. So
like the 1900s.
Yeah, it was. Well, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
I grew up in the 1900s.
You did grow up in the 1900s. I also spent 13 years in the 1900s.
I spent a lot more.
It's a wild time to be alive.
Yeah. That Piakowski is your probably most recent guy that you could answer that question that had the bigger impact like that, right? I would love to know what an Eric Piakowski would have gotten in the transfer portal or the NIL world. Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I would have loved to have seen Danny Nee operate in the NIL world.
Yeah, well, kind of did anyway.
That was sort of but I mean, like, actually have it out in the open and then go from there. And you think about that era of Nebraska athletics with everything else going on, like, Nebraska would have been quite a force to be reckoned with, I think, in the NIL era of the 90s, if such a thing existed at that time.
Yeah, I would feel good about them being pretty successful in that time frame, if you will. So yeah.
So I'm going to lift this topic from something I heard Matt McMaster talking about on the radio today. I hadn't thought about it. It is sort of interesting. If Pryce Sanford goes on, he's an all Big Ten player again, first team. and Nebraska has postseason success again. Let's say he doesn't get the record that Kerry Cohorn has. He's 143s away from being Nebraska's all-time three-point leader in 2 seasons, which is just incredible. Let's say he doesn't get that, but he's part of 2 years in which you win games in the NCAA tournament. He's an all Big Ten player 2 different times, first team all Big Ten player 2 different times. Like, do you think it'd be necessary to put him up in the rafters, or do you have to do something beyond that? Like, the one thing about Nebraska football is it's a pretty obvious what has to happen for you to be on the stadium in Memorial Stadium. Like, there's very few players. The next one, Emmett Johnson, I believe, has hit the qualifications for doing it. Now, I don't know if he's an individual award winner is probably the next step, and I don't know that he would get that. So the All-American probably isn't enough there. But the thing with basketball, like, you don't have that many. Do you feel like it necessary to put somebody up there just to represent this era, or do you let it breathe a little bit and take some time before you'd even think about doing anything?
I think you probably let it breathe a little bit.
Because if it's the start of something, then you just kind of let things play out a little bit.
Right. Yeah. If it's like this is going to be a every year thing where in the, winning a tournament game or Sweet 16 or whatever it may be, or there's like a 5, 6, 7 year run of it. I think you let it breathe a little bit. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think 2 years is probably too short of time.
But if it's the new era of college athletics,
I know. That's tough because how do you measure all of that? I will say this, and I've said it kind of a lot. I mean, I think the next person to have their jersey retired, if you will, inside for basketball should be Alexis Markowski. But so yeah, that's just for what she meant to the program for 4 years.
Okay,
but
that's a fair one.
Sure. As far as Pryce, I mean, if you are a 2-time first team all Big Ten player with 18 teams in the league,
let's say you have 4 tournament wins. So you went to the Sweet 16 twice. The thing about it is that he was the best player. You could make the argument he was the best player on the court for 2 of those 3 games, and the one that he wasn't was Tyler Tanner in Vanderbilt's effort. And that, take what you will from it, but it's not just like he was along for the ride. I mean, he was the catalyst of the ride, and he was a huge part of this team. Not that you have to sell anybody on this, but like if you're putting the qualifications together, what he's done in just 1 season is amazing. If he's able to replicate it, like that's a rarefied hair for Nebraska basketball.
That's a like Hoppin and Pikowski are the only guys,
right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess you're definitely having a conversation about it, but you do probably. I mean, you got to wait a little bit, for
right?
Can you imagine if Pryce Sanford his season was with NBA rules?
Yeah. I saw that tweet last night, and then it made me think about how in that 1 week they faced 49 free throws to the 9 that they attempted as a top 5 team in the country.
If you just had like the freedom of movement stuff, holy crap! Like he would.
It's why I think he'd be a relatively attractive player at the next level, even if there might be questions about how much you can play him defensively or whatever else. I just like what he can be for you in a spaced court. And he clearly has range, and he clearly can get the shot off of a quick release. So, I mean,
the defensive thing that doesn't matter. Like, it matters, but not like NBA wise, it doesn't matter that much.
Right.
You can get better and more physical, bodies mature and stuff like that. And I don't think that's an issue at all. I look at guys like a Baylor Shireman who's physically matured and has gotten stronger and all that stuff enough to give the Celtics minutes, right? They're kind of the same frame, not player type, but
not the same game.
No. But like the frame, they're built similarly. So, I think he for sure. I mean, if he does what he did again or even close next year, I think NBA draft pick for sure. Probably even a first round pick.
So let's shift focus here over to the portal, and that's kind of what we're going to spend. Just like yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time on it. Are you at all surprised that we have not heard anything regarding Drew Fielder or Trevin Lenhart at this point in time? Both guys were in over the weekend. I think their visits intersected a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much. I don't know if
I
that stuff
was
matters.
Yeah. So Fielder was what's today? Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah, Fielder was more Sunday, left Monday. Lenhart was, I guess, Sunday, more into Monday. Left, both of them left without committing. Fielder did leave Monday, I guess, morning-ish or before noon. And then Lenhart left, I guess, last night or Monday night. So little surprise, nothing's happened there yet, but both also have more visits to take. I believe today or yesterday, Fielder was at Washington. So like Washington's got pretty deep pockets and they like to spend it on basketball. If you look at what they spent last year, it's a lot. And he's kind of from up there. So that one is a little bit scary. And then Lenhart is Arizona State, I believe, is where he's visiting, I think, today. So, I thought Lenhart was probably more of a slam dunk or thought it would just work out more. But I mean, I don't know. I've said this years ago and kind of still have this in the back of my mind. Like, you want to pay me or give me a scholarship or whatever to go to Arizona State to play sports, I might be in on that. Just from the environment around everything else. So,
and it's Randy Bennett is there now, right?
Yeah,
like he left St. Mary's to go to Arizona State, so it's not, the program has kind of a fresh coat of paint, if you would, over sort of where things were at. I
think Nebraska does too with that. I mean,
certainly,
I do. I mean, so, but the Lenhart thing, it's. I hope for both of those players, it's not just about the money. Because if you look at it, like Washington hasn't really won in the last couple of years with their new coach. Nebraska has. Nebraska has a clear path, clear plan. This is how we see you playing, all that stuff. Not saying that Washington doesn't, but like you can see it. You can see the success. This is how it works, and all of those things. So, and then Lenhart would be a nice piece. He like frames a little slight, but 6'5", more of a point guard, wing, like he can play multiple positions. So I like that. He'd be more of that initiator of the offense from a length standpoint, which is going to look a little different. Would look a little different, obviously, than what Jamarcus or Sam did, but a little bit. You have to probably be a little bit concerned you didn't get a commitment, at the end of a visitor on the visit. That's a little bit. I'd be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I think it'd be fair to be a little like, oh man, you kind of hope that you would have that done. At the same time, I mean, I don't know, like, never gotten the sense that Nebraska just like really, really tries to get guys to say yes immediately when they're here. I think not that they're hands off with it, but I think Fred wants them to be comfortable that if you're Sam Orm and you want to pick Nebraska, go for it. But they don't also want to browbeat you into making a decision you're going to back out on anyways. And so I think there's always that element of it too.
Yeah, but gosh, that's how you get guys this day and age. You got to move pretty quick. You can still players can still take visits for, ever basically, until the season starts, or until school starts, if you will, in the fall. So that's what, August. But they only have 7 more days to enter the portal. So, but guys there's there's plenty of players available. It's just about getting the right ones. And Fielder is a guy that he initially committed to Georgetown. They went to Boise State after that, and Nebraska's liked him for some time. Like when they talked to him, messed with him, when he left Georgetown. I mean, they've liked him. So it's something where they've targeted him, for a while, and clearly think that he fits what they want to do. And I think it's not a necessity by any means, but it'd be pretty important to get a commitment from him if Nebraska can. Obviously, they tried hard and did all that, so, did everything they could to probably secure it. But that's a guy you probably really, really, really want and probably really need at this point, just because the options are getting a little slimmer, right? Because guys are just committing every hour. So you're, and he'd definitely be like slotted into that like starting, 5 spot or center spot. Because you're starting to miss out on some other targets and guys like that. So you have, Trayson Anderson committed to Butler on Friday, Saturday, if you will, and visited Butler. He was actually supposed to visit Nebraska after Butler, but Butler was the first visit. And normally in the portal era, if you get that first visit, it's probably a lock. For most of the time. Obviously that's not, happening in this case, but, so yeah, missed out on him. He would have been a nice piece to have, for sure. Obviously,
Were you surprised by that
he committed?
Yeah.
Initially, yes. And then I kind of found out some more and I was like, okay, that makes sense. So Nebraska didn't really set a visit date with Anderson. They just said, yeah, like we, like you to visit at some point. They did do a Zoom call and all of that with him.
So kind of maybe not the sense of a priority that maybe Butler provided.
Yeah, Butler loved him. And paid him like that, right? Or gonna pay him like that. And not like Nebraska was gonna pay him, just not as much as Butler. So and Trayson Anderson probably would have been the 4 or 5 man backup, off the bench guy, which is fine. You need those, obviously, or one of those options, I guess I should say, because you still have Leo Curtis on the roster, but obviously he's not ready to be like the starting 5 in the Big Ten,
right?
Or everyday guy. Can give you some minutes and do some things though. Now maybe a year from now, I think Leo Curtis might be ready, but at this point, not. But the Trayson Anderson thing was a little bit. It was a little surprising, and yeah, I mean, I just kind of chalked it up to like, yeah, he's gonna go to Nebraska because you started hearing that like it was like January even where you started, Trayson Anderson is gonna be in the portal, and this is a guy to look out for and whatever. And I was just like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And da, da, da. So it's just, yeah, I think it was one of those things, not dragging feet by any means. I think it was just the priority levels were a little different.
No doubt about it. Okay, so the names to kind of know for today: Tyreek Coleman, Sam Kaiser had put this out. I think it's Kaiser, it could be Kaiser.
Yeah.
Had put this out, and he's expected to be at Nebraska Tuesday, Wednesday, assuming that he left the Kansas State visit, and no commitment had been made there. So that's a guy that I find pretty fascinating just because he was a freshman at Illinois State. It looked like he kind of played beyond just being a freshman, like one of these guys that sort of got in and immediately elevated to the level that he was at, and now would have an opportunity to, I think, would be a really interesting 6-man, at a place like Nebraska, where you bring him in as and could be involved as giving you a little bit of a different look and a different scoring punch, while also still has the ability to play inside of a system where he can be an off guard or he can, shoot it from beyond the arc and all of it. So I think the Tyree Coleman thing is really interesting. I just don't know if Nebraska, again, like the priority is going to be the same as it might be at some other places. What do you kind of make of the recruitment of the Illinois State guard Tyree Coleman?
Yeah, so I asked a couple of coaches in the Valley that played against him and all that, and they nothing but positive. Like him, talented kid. I do think it'd probably be one of those like him or it depends on who they get. Like could he be the initiator of the offense? Yeah, obviously. But he's super talented. His pop was the NIT that he played in. Like that really helped him and showed people that he can play at that level. You're right, though. I think you probably slot him in as like either fighting for that. Could be the starter. He's gonna play. If he came to Nebraska, he'd play a lot of minutes.
Like you're thinking he'd play like 20 to 25 minutes a game,
right? For sure. Like he's a nice swing guy to have. I think more of like that Jamarcus, role, if you will. So he'd be a nice addition for sure. His visit schedule's wild. So like K-State, I think is what K-State,
Nebraska, Utah State, and then Iowa.
Yeah. So like, but he's doing it kind of like
bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Also not geographical.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The geographic part, he's ending with Iowa, which is probably because it's like closer to Illinois State. But
the Iowa doesn't seem likely to happen to me.
Maybe it does. If you get to that, if you get to the fourth visit, your how do I say it? mental makeup and self-control is very strong. Like if you get to the fourth visit, like you're like you're very not going through 3 official visits and not committing as a portal guy would be a different level of self-control. That's what I think.
He probably didn't have the recruitment that he desired on the front end of it, and so that's sometimes part of this. But
yeah,
it's also the sums of money likely involved. It's sort of hard to walk away from that too.
Right. But, so you just kind of, I just am, yeah. But once guys secure commitments from other guys, like maybe at that point, like then you're out, and then like, okay, am I scrambling to go? But that's probably why he's just visiting, bang, bang, bang. So,
is there a world where you think they'd take both Lenhart and Coleman, or do you think it's like so there's a world where Nebraska could walk away with Fielder, Lenhart, Coleman, Orm, and that's got to be the bulk of what you're looking to do in the portal at that point in time.
You feel pretty good about that, if that's
that sounds pretty damn great to me.
Feel real good.
I can build out what I want that rotation to look like. I can build out what I think the depth looks like. You'd probably go find with that remaining spot, try to find a backup big, of some caliber that's aware of sort of what that situation is. A Jared Garcia type, if you would, I guess. But
right. And that's why I think the Bowden Kepke kid from Boston College, I think you slate him as the.
So you think they could take him and Fielder?
Yeah, they need 2. Like, I think you need 2.
I want to ask you, because you have your ear to the ground on all of these things, and it's obvious that there's a lot of money that's just being allotted for big,
You need 2. Nebraska needs 2 bigs, whether they're forward, center, or whatever, like that. They need 2.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. So it's obvious that teams are prioritizing size in terms of what they're trying to do, but there's still only so many spots that are kind of available. Like, are backup bigs making large amounts of money too?
Yeah,
is a backup big more valuable in some ways than a combo guard?
They're doing all right. I think they're doing.
So this is like the offensive line versus the linebacker safety scenario in the football transfer portal.
I feel good about that. Yes. So like
Man.
your offensive linemen are a lot more valuable. Same thing with like bigs, point guards too are in that conversation. But
Sure, that's why I said combo guard,
yeah,
swingman.
post players are they're doing really well. I mean, you're talking about like, like well, Flory Badinga, reports are that he got like $5-6 million from Louisville.
Well, that Papa John's money is,
but he's the number one guy. Like he was the number one transfer. He's going to be a
I totally get it.
All that stuff.
You're also committing $6 million or whatever it is to a singular player.
Yeah, but they're raw. I mean, they're not done. They got Jackson.
No, I get it. But the thing is, like, very few teams are able to play. Like, that is a very unique playground.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. So,
two of them just happen to be in the same state, which makes it hilarious.
Last year, the teams that spent the most were like in that 20 million range. Mm-hmm. This year, that number is more like 30.
Yeah.
And Nebraska got an increase, but it ain't that.
Yeah, that's always the thing about it. Like, there's a little bit of some Troy Dannon, I felt like patting himself on the back of, yeah, there's going to be more money this year. And it's like, okay, but that's true of literally every program. So
yeah,
congrats on keeping up exactly where you were a year ago.
You're basically just giving yourself the 3% raise or whatever. Like your
cost of living standard.
Yeah, your cost of living raise is kind of, and it's probably a little more than that, obviously. I mean, so yes, to answer your question, bigs, backup posts, all that stuff, they're getting paid. Like I look at a guy like an Owen Freeman, for example, right? So Creighton did not pay him $2 million last year. That's totally false.
They paid him double that? Wow.
No, no, about half of that. And he's probably still going to make that again in his next stop.
Which a guy like that fascinates me because what do you like? Do you try to go to a power conference again?
Sounds like
okay. Well, The
so
version of him that was ever on the court for Creighton is not capable of playing at the SEC level.
But that's an example of the dollars for that position. Right. So
that's insane.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at what he did before at Iowa. He had put up really.
Well, no, I get it, but you're not paying for what he did at Iowa. You're paying for what you hope you could get out of him for 1 year at Auburn.
Correct.
And you have no idea of knowing physically what condition he can actually be in to play for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of other circumstances maybe with that one at Creighton.
Sure.
Too. Like, like people misjudged or, rumor mill, whatever, and believed it as far as his price tag. And then that put a little extra pressure and fans were pretty on him about, not playing or being injured or whatever.
Right.
There was a lot there.
This isn't an anti-Owen Freeman thing. It's
yeah, like totally. Like you look at it
sort of to try to explain this market, and it's like, okay, if Nebraska doesn't get Drew Fielder, they're still going to have to spend a bunch of money to get a post player, no matter what.
You're probably going to have to spend more.
Which then, do they have it?
And then who's still available?
Right.
Because posts are going left and right.
Let's at least talk a little about Bowden Kapke. What do you know about the Boston College big man? This is kind of the one guy so far. If you look at the rest of the kind of targets that Nebraska has been mentioned with, this is kind of the first guy that's come from a program where it's like they just weren't good at all. But everybody else has largely been, Belmont had 20 plus wins. Utah Valley was good. Boise State was good. Illinois State was good. North Dakota State, whether Trayson Anderson was a priority or not, good. So you've talked about this. I know it's something that you believe in a lot, which is you got to go get players from programs that have been in winning situations to develop winning habits and come in with the kind of, expectation and culture that you want. And Fred Hoiberg, very protective of what they've built thus far. Not saying that one guy would upset the apple cart. But it is a little bit interesting that, this is the one guy that's coming from a program in Boston College that was just a dumpster fire, to say the least.
Yeah, fire their coach, obviously. He is originally from Minnesota. So went to high school in Minnesota, was like
Played at Butler.
Yeah, went to Butler, and then obviously Boston College. So he put up 10-5, something like that at Boston College in 29 games that they played. Yeah. Good numbers.
Perfectly respectable.
Yeah, power conference, good numbers, all of that. My stance on the winning program thing is like getting guys that put up massive numbers, like 20 and for a post 20, if it's 16 and 8, getting guys like that, but their team was just dreadful and lost a lot. Like you can take one or two maybe of those guys. I don't think you can take a roster full of those guys or more than, one or two, because what does that do to your culture or whatever? Because they're not from a winning program. They're not used to winning. They don't know the daily habits to win and all of those things that's 100%. Like I firmly believe in that. So, but I think this is a little bit different. Like what I should have clarified, I guess, before on that was taking guys from non-winning programs that put up big numbers at like mid-major or low-major places. A lot different. So because you do have like you would think that an ACC school would have the structure and the systems down and all of those things to that translates a little bit better, right? And Kepke's another post that you can use. Like I said, that I think they need two more. Obviously Sam Orm is a guy that he's a little different though. He's a unique
swing player.
Yeah. He'd probably play the 3 through 5 if you actually need him to. I don't know, being defend a wing, but he can, or a 5 to be honest. But you can play him spot minutes there. So you need some more size. Like when I say size, I don't mean height. I mean you need some kind of mature, strong guys. So he'd probably be more in that. I mean, if they didn't get Drew Fielder, he'd probably be the guy. To be honest, the one thing though, what does that do to the system? How does it change? Is he capable of being that really good ball handler like Rink Mast was? When I say ball handler, I don't mean dribbling the basketball. I mean in
holding it out at the top of the key and running your offense
handoffs,
to the point. Yeah.
Passing, those sort of things. Think like a quarterback in a spread offense with RPOs. So and that's something that Rink was phenomenal at. So is he capable of that? I don't. I watched a little bit of clips and stuff on him. I didn't see any of that. Also averaged like under 1 assist a game. So that doesn't strike you as someone that is capable of that, but maybe. And I'm sure there's maybe tentacles that go back to like when he was in high school, probably watching him, recruiting him. They didn't, obviously Nebraska didn't offer him at that point out of high school, but it's definitely a name that I could see fitting in, working, having a role, finding a role. Got to get somebody. So, yeah, the Fielder thing, like I feel more and more like that just has to happen. So it's pretty important for it to happen. Will they still be all right without him? Yes, but it does feel like they put a lot of eggs in that basket.
Is it a thing where Nebraska comes back with a bigger offer the longer this waits?
Maybe there's some back and forth. I think there's probably some back and forth. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things like it's not public information. So how much do you believe? You got to really trust like what you believe or what you don't believe. Because, an agent could be like, well, this team said this and you're offering this. And it's all like, do you trust that agent enough? because it's not, unlike the NBA, it's not like, public knowledge or information.
Well, and similar to really protective of the culture piece, I think you've mentioned this in the past. Like Nebraska is going to be relatively smart about who they want to even try to do business dealings with, anyways, rather than get caught in those games. So that's at least something to note. Here's a question from Cheeseman 1994: Is Oogie not going to start?
Is Oogie going to be on the
I
team?
will. Well, yeah. So that's where I'm at with a lot of it. Like if he's there, I think it's because he's comfortable waiting out, seeing how he feels physically, and just decides like the easiest course of action is to stay with Nebraska. They find some sort of agreement on a number for him. I don't think there's much of a market for a guy who played one game. You're now a year plus removed of it, and obviously he played really well in the MAC. The MAC's not a particularly great conference.
No, and has a history of a back issue.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So if you're in Nebraska, you can't bank on it. So it's sort of like if you have him, great. You utilize him if he's available. If you don't have him, fine. He was never really anything for you to begin with. So it's kind of like one of those things where you just sort of let it play out one way or another. And he did say that he wants to come back. I'm dubious because I just don't like, if I'm Nebraska, I just don't even know how I can trust that it's worth using a roster spot on it. But they know better than anybody else about what his intentions are and what the possibility of him being able to play. And it's not like he's without talent. I mean, I think it was Kent Pavelka was talking about how, in the first iteration of what this team looked like in the summer, he was pretty intrigued by what Oogie could do alongside Rink Mass with their various skill set. And so, what that actually means, I have no idea. Now you don't have Rink Mass. I don't know how he's going to play after a year of basically being out, other than one game against, I think, New Hampshire. So I just think he's such a wild card.
He's such an intriguing guy, though, because he's pretty good. Like he's pretty skilled.
That's all the buzz, but there's just no way you can bank on that.
No, you can't. You can't guarantee that. And I mean, I feel decently good that Oogie likely won't be back.
Okay.
So I haven't been told that for sure from any sources or anything, but that's just my feel.
The Mike Sautter gut feel.
Yeah, I just feel like he probably isn't going to be back.
Well, let's finish up with this. I'll give you 4 other players to give gut feels on, starting with Drew Fielder.
Well, hold on one second. So we missed a guard that they're after. Elijah Perriman from Utah State is.
Ooh, I missed this. Okay,
another guard
you're breaking news for me. Tell me about Elijah.
Just in the conversation, right? Nice player, would be in that role of that Tyree Coleman. I know that they, were in conversations with him, or he was one of the initial targets for that, guard-ish spot, if you will, that 1-2, spot. That's a name that was there. I haven't had an update on him or anything about that recently, but that was an initial name. So not 100% on that one. It sounds like Tyree Coleman's probably the guy, but that they would like to get. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So let's we'll just start with Drew Fielder. Your gut feel. Yesterday, Caleb Henry was, what was he, maybe 70% on Drew Fielder at that point in time. There had been some rumblings that this was already a done deal, and I don't know that was ever the case. But Drew Fielder, how do you feel about this? Give me a 1 through 10 score.
Oh man,
1, you feel awful. 10, he's already committed. You've got your commitment story and video and everything ready to go, and you're just playing us all. Okay, so it's not going to be a 10.
Have some stuff ready, just because you have to. You
understand how the business works.
Yeah, you have to have stuff ready. 6.5.
Okay, that's right in line with that. I think I was a 5 yesterday. I'm a 5 today.
I feel like it's okay. Let me go 6. I don't like the half.
I don't want to talk you out of what you are.
No.
I'm just trying to be consistent.
It's probably more like that 5-6 every hour that it.
Okay.
I
don't like how much longer this has gone. was sort of hoping to have a feel one way or the other for this on Monday night, and we're now into
Yeah.
Tuesday afternoon.
I was hoping it'd be
It's just
done
one of those
yesterday,
things.
to be honest. I was ready for it. So
Yeah, that would have been Monday night. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
All right, Trevin Lenhart. I was
feel
at an
good.
8.5 yesterday.
Visit went really well. I like that 8.5.
Yeah, I'm holding. I'm holding at 8.5.
I'll go 8. Yeah.
Go 8. All right.
Feel good.
8.5 for me and 8
Feel
for
good.
Mike. These are very important numbers that you should
Tempe's
file
great,
away in your brain.
especially this time of year.
Yeah. There's a part of me that just like, I feel like that guy from what I have seen and just looking at the numbers and sort of just thinking about how it fits. I feel like he was sort of just built in a lab to be on Fred Hoiberg's team and play in Nate Lenzer's defense
yeah.
and to replace Sam Hoiberg in sort of a stat filling role with some ball handling responsibility. Like he seems like a perfect fit to me.
And it's 6'5".
The very first time I saw, and maybe there's a joke in there about what he looks like and everything else, but it feels like a perfect fit. And I'm going to be a little annoyed, I think, if they don't end up with him because I'll feel robbed of that total sensation.
6'5" totally is, looks, feels a lot different. That's that kind of like, I feel like, so if people watching this probably did listen to Hoiberg in his final press conference of the season, and I asked him about I framed it wrong. I should have said, the initiator of the offense, and I said point guard, which I shouldn't have. Actually, I said both things, and the question was bad. And he said, well, we could get longer there, or so, could be some longer, type of guys. I'm pretty sure he was talking about him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really strong fit.
I feel, yes, he would be a great fit. I feel really good if that's the fit. So
okay. Tyreek Coleman, I was at a 3.5 yesterday. I think 3 is where I was at.
Yeah, I feel probably about I give that a 50-50 shot. I'll go like a 5.
Okay, you're up to a 5. Mm-hmm. So a 5 for that. For Coleman. I again like the sort of idea of him as your 6th man coming off of the bench, scoring guy in that sort of rotation.
If they got Lenhart and Coleman, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, agreed. You'd still need the front courts piece to come together.
Right, but like I'm talking from the backcourt, like you'd feel really good. Yeah.
Okay, we'll finish up with Koepke.
Oh, probably pretty good on that one because not sure there's a lot else going on.
Okay. Pretty good.
Probably like an 8. Probably an 8.
He doesn't have a pre-written article ready to go, so he's short of that.
Feel good about that one. That one's probably like an 8. Does have other stuff going on, but not higher level stuff. I don't think so. Feel good.
I'll go 7.5. I have no basis for that other than I feel like it's likely to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I am like confident that it's definitely going to happen, but I suppose in a world where we're sitting around waiting for a Lenhart or Fielder announcement, Koepke becomes the first one announcing. Feels like that's sort of how these things would work anyways. But
yeah, that would feel like it, wouldn't it? So that's why I just think that it's probably I just feel
any other names that you're monitoring from a Nebraska? You mentioned Perryman. Anybody else that you're monitoring from a Nebraska?
Those are like the main guys right now. So there's any like local guys. I don't think like your Bangot Doc from Colorado.
Where's he going to end up?
Doesn't sound like Nebraska is an option there. I saw something. Gosh, where was it? Not K-State, but like oh man, thought it was SEC something. So, yeah.
I mean, it seems like a Texas A&M or a Mississippi State or
that's what I think. A&M was one of the names.
A&M makes a ton of sense to me for that, just because
run jump,
a bunch of money around. Yeah, he fits. He fits it really, really well.
Yeah. And then
what's Jaden Jackson going to go do? Has he made a decision?
Jaden Jackson has not made a decision. Still, same levels of schools. I think probably like Summit-y stuff. People interested, and talking to him and all that stuff. So Jaden Jackson was at South Dakota State, Bellevue West grad. So that's same kind of level, I think. Or maybe you could see like a step above that, which would be what, like whack or something.
Sure.
Yeah. Nothing like, not like a Nebraska or anything like that, I think, at this point. The other name is Lazarick Houston, as far as local guys. That's not a if it is I guess I've been told that if it is a Nebraska or a Creighton thing, it's a like, okay, you're a local guy, we'll take
deep
you
down the line sort of thing.
Yeah. Right. That's how I've been told those conversations have gone for something like that. So I definitely think he's very unique. He's such a unique player because he's a good kid. So he's explosive, but he's like, 6 foot, 6'1",
small,
slight, but he can get to the rim and do all those things. But he's a very much so scoring, needs to score ball.
Would UNO or anything be like that?
I mean, I think that they probably kick the tires. I think it probably goes higher than that just because his numbers were so good. Yeah. But like, he has to score the ball to be really effective. And a lot of point guards, like at, the Division I level, that isn't how their system works. So you have to be real comfortable with that. So we'll see what he ends up doing, but he does have a ton of options.
Has there been anything, and I don't know how much you kept up on it, anything that's happened in the Big Ten so far? Stephen Vox to Illinois, feels like that makes a ton of sense. Coming over from Providence, obviously another European player, a guy who's a tremendous scorer.
I mean, he fits
sometimes I've watched Providence. He seems like he's going to be really good, and it's annoying to me.
Fits exactly what Illinois, like that's their, that's the one thing. Not a ton. I mean, I'm like, what does Wisconsin do to fill the Boyd and Blackwell
role? How does Greg Gard keep doing that, by the way?
What?
How does Greg Gard keep finding players to fit in this sort of offensive system that, I think Greg Gard deserves more credit than he probably gets for reloading these last couple of years when they've lost, these guys, and he goes out and he gets John Tonji, and he goes out and he lost AJ Stores, and these different players.
He lost Chucky Hepburn initially, like it's been every year now that's just kind of happens. And Chucky was great for them. He does deserve a lot of credit, and his staff deserves a lot of credit for being able to just reload and change his system kind of uniquely to their players. So done a great job. So like your Blackwell sounds like Louisville.
Weird.
The money Louisville is spending is
that pizza money, man. It's
if Blackwell if that ends up happening, it sounds like for 3 players they'll be at like roughly 12 million is the rumor.
It's
for 3 players.
They better be able to win games, or otherwise,
Well, those 3 are pretty all right, though. No,
I mean you're talking about 3 really good players, but it's still...
and Indiana's done a nice job too in the portal here. So so far getting nice pieces, right? So that's John. Hey, like Blackwell would be fantastic in Lincoln. I'd take that guy in 2 seconds. I don't think they're getting that money though.
The other one that I just happened to see, it just happened about an hour ago, and his name was sort of mentioned alongside Nebraska, but no visit was ever set. And I was really interested because I think he'd be a sort of fascinating player. And now he's going to end up at Penn State. Brant Byers from the Miami of Ohio team felt like a Fred Hoiberg type player, big, long shooter, a couple years of eligibility. And so he'll be at Penn State. And so we'll see how that goes for him. Other notables, Justin Pippen, Scottie Pippen's kid, is going to Ohio State. What else? JP Estrella is going to Michigan. It's been kind of quiet for the Big Ten. I mean, there's still some big ones to go. I'm excited to see wherever Zoom Jallo goes for Washington. He's a really good player. I thought he was going to end up at Louisville, but then they got Shellstead, and so they didn't need him, and so maybe he goes next door to Kentucky.
Right, maybe. I mean, like for 2027, they might just be all right. I mean, Chase Richardson's on campus tomorrow, I believe, right? Or yesterday, today, tomorrow. Really nice player there. And they might luck out with Ahmad Hudson. So
that would be fun. So we'll see how that all plays out.
How would Ahmad Hudson? How would you do that? Like play both?
I think you basically played through the bowl game, and then you'd come in for conference play and try to take whatever minutes you can get, sort of thing. I mean, it's just
But then you'd miss spring practice and stuff.
Yeah, I think
to a degree.
Yeah, it sort of depends on when they would have spring practice. Like if they have it as early as they did this year, then yeah, it's a bigger deal. If it's sort of when it normally is,
April, whatever.
Yeah. I think spring practice matters when you're younger. So it's a bigger deal early in his career.
I don't know, man. If they get that guy, there's no bigger deal. Like he's playing.
Yeah. For the football team.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. So it's like moonlighting with basketball. Because I think obviously Nebraska would be happy to have the body. I don't know that it's like any core tenet of what they have.
No, for basketball, no, it'd be like a nice to have come in athlete, guy, right? Like for basketball. For football though, it'd be a pretty big
football. Hit. That's a top tier wish list.
Yeah, it's between Nebraska and LSU now.
Yeah, no, that's true. Fred Hoiberg, Will Wade, Lane Kiffin, Matt Rule, kind of a funny group of coaches right there. And I don't even think LSU's particularly involved basketball wise either. So that's the other aspect in all of this.
Probably not. I will tell you, Will, on the basketball front, Will Wade is building himself a staff of some grimy.
I think there's only really one way that Will Wade operates, and LSU is excited to invite him back into the hen house. So
Rick Stansbury and Will Wade on the same staff. Plus, they've gotten some other guys. So it's like,
you're saying it'll be fun times in the SEC again?
They're gonna get players.
They'll get players. The SEC will have players. There'll be a lot of accusations, and they'll probably mostly outside of Florida underwhelm in the NCAA tournament, or even if they are Florida. So,
wow, listen to you. Florida won a national championship too.
They won it. They won it last year. They were an excellent team. They put in like 14 of their 16 teams in the NCAA tournament and made 3 of them got to the Sweet 16. So
this year they weren't quite as good.
So. No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
Big
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to throw out? Any other
no, I think that's close. I don't.
We'll finish with this. I had you rate all of these players on a 1 through 10 scale. Give me your confidence rating that Nebraska will be back in the NCAA tournament next year without knowing what this roster even looks like at its completion.
I feel good about that. I feel really good about that. Like I think it's probably like a 8 to 10 range.
Whoa,
8. Mm-hmm.
An 8.
Yeah,
that's high.
You got an all league player.
And you have Prager coming back, and we haven't even mentioned Cale Jacobson's coming back.
It was a great piece to have, to be honest. Like I know, like I saw some stuff, some trolly people. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like he has helped that team a lot. So
Jacobson?
I
agree.
He's not ever going to be the leading scorer on the team. He's never going to be the leading rebounder for the whole season.
He can play 1 through 5 for them in a pinch.
He does a lot, and a great culture person. Yep. So that matters too. You need guys like that on your roster, and you need guys like that aren't expecting, $500 or $1 million, like at $500,000 or $1 million. You need people like that. you need those people. And he's been great for them. So, and I like how they announced he was coming back. Like that was ever an issue, like going to be a thing.
Have you enjoyed the graphics where it was milk for Braden Frager and then coffee for Sanford and for
there's got to
Jacobson?
be some. I think they're just. I mean, I guess I could probably find out the meaning or reason, but I don't think it's really that big. I think it's just being funny. So
Yeah, well,
just knowing the people that make those, I think it's probably just people being a little funny.
I like it. It's fun. The little details in there. We can now like Zapruder film the hell out of every graphic that they put out looking for little Easter eggs and clues. That's fun.
Right. So I feel good. I do feel good. They'll get some players. They'll have them in the system will fit. They'll adjust to the players they get. You know, we didn't spend a lot of time on it because obviously it happened what feels like a month ago. But Sam Orm is like that's a really nice piece, a really good piece to have, and I will go ahead and I'm going to look up this text that I had from a coach in the league that played against them. That gave me kind of like Sam Orm, stuff, right? And
gave you the Sam Orm scouting report.
Yeah, if you will. And it was really good get, starter at the 4. And yeah, so there it is. So really good get, starter at the 4. A different coach said like, yeah, well, I'll just look it up real quick. I don't mind. Go ahead.
I mean, we don't have.
No, I know we're good. So, high.
No, I want to ask you a question, and I'm already just allowing that we're going to run longer than I was intending here.
Elite shooter with size, played the 4 at times for Belmont, played small ball 5, and could stretch the floor. Average defender, is a weapon from the arc.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask is like, how much value does having somebody like that with that sort of explanation for who they are, even if he's not necessarily like a 44% 3-point shooter or whatever, like let's say he's a 38% 3-point shooter, then you can play off of Pryce Sanford with that. Like you can't overplay Sanford and then leave him all by himself in the corner. Like think of how many times Berke or even Hoiberg would be left wide open. The lineup Nebraska theoretically could assemble is so much more punishing if teams do that. Like it's kind of wild how much better they could be from an offensive standpoint than they were a year ago. By, you think about some of the pieces that you're replacing and you're going to have to replace them in different ways. But from an offensive efficiency standpoint, if you add better shooters, that Hoiberg offense becomes even more dangerous if you have someone that can facilitate.
If they get the people that, Orm obviously, and then if they get like a Fielder and Lenhart, they're just trying to score 120 points or something. Like, because the shooting is ridiculous. Like the people that they're targeting are like above 35% 3-point shooters.
Yeah. And they're 6'5", 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", and 6'11".
If you have a team of people that are above 35% 3-point shooters, that's insane. Like, if you as a team, as a whole team, everyone for a whole season can shoot above 35%, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it does feel like they're very much so like, hey, we know the defense will get figured out, find a way to do like they can play multiple defenses and all that. They'll figure that piece out. But if, offensively, that is one thing they needed. They needed more, consistent, I guess, shooting around Sanford. And it feels like
open space for Frager and everything else.
Right. And Frager's, obviously catch and shoot 3-point guy or a straight line drive. Like that's what he does. That's what he's done his whole life. So, yeah, if their spacing would be something if they can, land those guys. So,
well, we'll be here to discuss if they get these guys all throughout the week here on the Unemployed podcast. Mike
Yeah,
Sautter.
Season's back too.
Yep.
So
Yep. So you're the first double repeat guest of Nebrasketball Tuesdays. How does
there's
that
a
feel?
lot going on Nebrasketball right now. So
yeah, we wanted to make sure we brought you in to talk portal, to talk Nebrasketball. Appreciate your time here. Where can people catch your great work?
My great work. I guess X Twitter is Mike Sautter _. I believe there's a professional Facebook account. There's an Instagram account that's just Mike Sautter. And then but Hurrdat Sports or Hail Varsity is another one. And all the written stuff. We have a full transfer portal tracker for actually all three Division I teams.
Yeah. No, you've been covering a lot of this. And so I tried to give you credit for
Omaha, Creighton, and Nebraska. There's a transfer portal tracker on hurrdatsports.com you can find if you're interested in all that. So Omaha got a commitment. Was able to announce a commitment yesterday. Feel like they've got 2 over the weekend. So that's a positive sign there. And then they're working on former Nebraska players. Justin Bullis is a name that a lot of, like your Omaha, South Dakota State, Old Dominion, type places like that. So I think Justin Bullis would be fantastic at Omaha because they love those run, jump, rim runner, athletic dudes that are in that position. Like he'd be really good there. So we'll see. I know they're trying to work on getting a visit set up with him.
Excellent. All right, Mike. Appreciate your time, everybody. Thanks for checking out what we have going on here on a Nebrasketball Tuesday, which, of course, is brought to you by our friends over at TP3 Pest Management. Like I said, give TJ a call one more time, 402-618-1116 for your pest control needs, and tell them the Unemployed podcast sent you. Get yourself a discount for your first home or business spray. We'll be back with Josh Peterson on Wednesday. We'll dive into the wide world of college football, also touch on any portal stuff as it were to happen. We'll see you then.